All right, gang. Let's wrap up Shiloh with the first day, scenario 16.4. No enemy nearer than Corinth. I think that's what it's called. Anyhow, so I thought I was just kind of rolling along with the Rebs and, just destroyed the Apprentice's sixth division over here from the Union Army. Somewhat put a hurting on Sherman's guys, but Sherman's guys seem to hold their ground. As a matter of fact, right here where this Hildebrand, the 77th Ohio is, right underneath him is their headquarters unit, and Cleburne actually drove them off there. But with their last activation, they were adjacent. They did a fire. They can, like I said, they can't do an attack order. They can only do a defensive order. So they fired and were able to reclaim the hex. Can't do any close assaults. So. But, yeah, I don't know, it was 1 or 2 points there or something like that. And the other Union headquarters back here never got scared. You can barely see him. But then the one over here, the Confederates took that one pretty early as they were just crushing Prentice's 6th Division. So the last turn of this thing, I don't know, it's kind of, I guess, lackadaisical. I mean, it wasn't almost all the action was right there with Cleburne. And not only did Cleburne get his activation, but Johnston, his chit drew, he activated Cleburne. They were doing everything they can to take these victory locations. The headquarters here, there's a Shiloh Church is right there. You got another victory location back there, a road intersection. And I think Anderson did some stuff. Gladden and Chalmers, all they did was move to try to make sure they got units in these fields so they can get victory points for these fields. And really, Pond doesn't have the force over here to deal with McDowell. Johnson ended up with a limited activation. The artillery never really did a whole lot in this game, although there were a couple times where that artillery line of sight shit was drawn and that paid off with a good die roll. Stewart did a limited activation. Wood, he was never going to get to the front. Shaver he just did a defend. No, he was a limited activation, so he never really did anything. Wood did a defend because he was never going to get up there, so we could rally some of the troops. Chalmers and, like I say, Gladden, they tried to move, but they were never going to get the ground. I think they did mess with one of Wraith's units that was left here, who's now on the broken track over there. Russell, he drew a limited, so he was not able to do anything. And like I say, the artillery never did not a whole lot in this. Wooded area. The only time you were going to shoot if you're up on higher ground and you're shooting across the top of the woods and stuff, maybe sometimes into a lower elevation, but at a distance, or maybe to an elevation at the same, and the woods below you just aren't. They're just obscuring. They're not interfering with your shot. And only shooting 3 strength points. And the Germans, the Union only getting during the artillery segment. So remember when you play the scenario during the artillery segment, the Union can only move 3 artillery units through the game, but it doesn't affect their fire and stuff like that. So you can, if you had 20 of them on there, you could only move 3 during the artillery phase, but all the other ones could all fire. So keep that in mind when y'all play this scenario. Few special rules, not overbearing. Yeah, and of course they make the nice little chart here. Let me find it. The scenario reminder cards that are in the game for each of the scenarios to help out. All right, enough of that. Blind swords, fun system. How did this turn out? Well, like I say, I thought I was with destroying 6th Division over here on this side of the map. I thought, yeah, the Confederates victory location here. They got all these fields. They took all these camps. So I started computating. And I will say this is the one thing I think I love about these games. Maybe not all the scenarios are like this in all the games, but this one here, lots of victory conditions with victory points. Taking locations, wrecked units, broken units, eliminated units, depleted units, different point numbers for a depleted unit as opposed to a unit that starts pretty much as a battle worn or it's only a one-step unit. So lots of victory points to calculate and kind of fun when you get it all done. So, I counted everything up. There's victory points, like I say, for taking fields, for taking camps, for taking objectives, for taking the Union headquarters. And then there's victory points for eliminated, wrecked brigades, eliminated units, broken units, depleted units, and most of the stuff, 2 points, 1 point, quarter point, or half point. Like the encampments here that you see all over the map. I think there's 22 of them or something like that. The Union gets a victory point for holding on. Or is it the Confederates get a victory point? I don't even want to. Yeah, let me look that up because that one's kind of important. I mean, I added it. I calculated it all correct, but I'm just wondering here. Victory points for them. Okay, the Confederates do not earn victory points for the controlling the camps, so it's the Union with the ones for. So for all the camps they maintained, they got victory points for them. So I did all the calculations. All right, first off, let's look over here. There's 6th Division. Ended up wrecked. And since everybody was over here on the broken track and depleted, they ended up in the eliminated box. Artillery cannot be rebuilt. They don't go on a broken track, so they're eliminated. And battle units that are one-step units that have the yellow circle, i.e. like Mr. Wood here, they can't be rebuilt either. I don't think cavalry can either. I can't remember. There isn't any in this scenario, so I know there was cavalry at Shiloh. All right, so I did all my calculations, and I came up with 33, actually I think it was 34 for the Rebs, and 20 for the Yanks. All right, and of course in these games here you subtract, well, the scenario depending. In this game scenario here you subtract the Union from the Confederates, and it came out to be, 14? I'm like, that's pretty good. All right, nope. Confederate loss. You got to have 22 points for it to be a Confederate victory. So I was kind of like, it's kind of cool because you think you think that the Confederates have taken enough. They're on the offensive, and you tend to play the offensive guys. When you're playing solo, you tend to think harder about that, what you're doing with them. Whereas the guys playing defense, and since the Union could only do defensive orders in this thing anyhow, just trying to maintain your line and hold on to your victory locations. I.e. your camps and the victory point locations, this one here. So, you try to work real hard with the attacking force because that's usually harder to deal with. And I thought, after looking at those numbers, I thought, 14 points is going to be pretty good because you're used to seeing those games where, 0 to whatever is a minor victory, then a tactical victory, and a substantial or decisive victory. It's not. These games here is just one. You either get this many points, you win, or you don't. Well, they did. So they were 8 points short of getting 22. And I'm just trying to think, what else could I have taken? Let's go back over here. So that objective, this camp, they never got there. So they didn't take that one, and they never moved into that one. All right, so camp. There's camps here. There's camps in here, victory location there. There's the Union headquarters here, the Union headquarters there, and then there's camps over here. So they needed to take another good 75% of what was remaining on the map, and they didn't do it. So thus they end up 8 points short. So we get a Union victory here at Shiloh, even though an infantry division, 2 brigades, is just completely decimated and gone. They probably ran back towards Pittsburgh Landing, and Grant was coming on, which he did come on in this scenario. He probably caught them running down the road and tried to rally them boys up, maybe offered them a cigar or shot of whiskey or something, who knows. But yeah, there you go. This was fun playthrough. These games are such easy play, and they work really, really well. I think, granted, I missed the Civil War by a day or two when I was a kid, but I think these things are pretty reflective. And, got 3 wonderful systems. Like I say, just after the show we did the other night, 3 wonderful systems that we can play, and this is one of those good ones. Get your hands on this one. This one came out last year. The Gettysburg one just came out here, a month or 2 ago. Another good one. Played some of that. But Shiloh, first day, Revolution Games. Steve Carey, I believe, was the honcho on this one. Blind sword system. Good. Bunch of scenarios in it, too. So I think there's like 7 at least in the scenario book. So, yeah, good play for Shiloh first day. And that's all you really need to play at Shiloh. Because if you play the second day, you're going to have 2 Union armies on the field just sort of tearing apart what's left of the Confederate armies around there. Because you got to figure if you're pushing as the attacker, you're probably going to take. And that's another thing in this too. A lot more depleted forces on the map as compared to the Union, obviously, because they're on the attack. The Confederates are on the attack, so they have a lot more depleted forces. I guess that's when you got to use those defend orders and try to. Or well, no, you can't recover depletion. So at least not during the play, unless you have a specific chit or card like you did in the Black Swan stuff. So, all right, wrapping it up. This one's done. Going to move on to the next task. Got my BCS I'm playing. Still got Gettysburg 77. Needs to happen before this year's out. Maybe it's. Well, no, I got to get finished on the table over there before I do Gettysburg 77. So we'll find something else to put on the little small puzzle table here and play it. All right, thanks for checking us out. Let me know if you played this thing. Let me know what your thoughts on the gameplay of this was, or what your thoughts on my little 49-minute video of playing one turn from top to bottom. Let me know what you think about that. And we'll check you all soon with the next game we play. See you.